what Iceland has done is transcends any um, foreshadowing or predictability of any kind of analysis of the sport. It is nothing short of incredible. Iceland qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in their history, winning their group, one of the 9 group winners in Europe, ahead of really stiff competition in Croatia, Turkey, Ukraine, even a Finland side that some underestimated, an up and coming Kosovar outfit as well. This is just it's mind blowing because this is a country who was one of the worst teams, one of the 10 worst teams in Europe 10-15 years ago. You know I like to break off my ranking criteria of European teams into 6 different tiers. Iceland was 6th tier, maybe 10th, maybe 5th tier. What they have done, uprooting their domestic program, the development of football in their country in the last decade, has been staggering. I just, you know, I've been watching this sport for most of my life. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't think anyone saw this coming. I don't think Icelandic people themselves ever saw this coming. I remember when I was a kid, not a kid, but a teenager, and I was the old school FIFA World Cup 2006 video game for the PlayStation 2. That was my favorite game as a kid. Again, teenager. And I remember playing through the qualification zone because you get to play either the direct tournament itself or the qualification phase. I think I played as Spain, I'm not sure. Maybe Italy. And I remember Iceland was in my group. And I beat them like 7 or 8-0. And I was like, wow, this team is really bad. They're in the World Cup in 2018. Let's put it into context, because this is a country that is now officially the smallest nation to qualify for the World Cup ever. Population-wise, landmass-wise, geographically speaking, they're not the smallest. I think Trinidad and Tobago are the smallest. Trinidad, Tobago. But they have a higher population than Iceland. So, just think about this for a second. Just think for a second. This is a country with a population of 330,000 people. 330,000 people. The United States has a population of roughly 325 million people. The United States has a population that is around 1,000 times 1,000 times greater than Iceland. The population of New York City, I believe, is like 9 million. To put that into greater perspective, that's 26 or 27 times the population of the whole country of Iceland. What Iceland have done is an inspiration to all middling, lower tiered sides in Europe that are aiming to improve, particularly the much smaller nations, even the micronations. And they are proof that the size of your country really doesn't matter. If it mattered, India, China and India would be 10-time World Cup champions each. You know, but what Iceland have done, being a team that consistently ranked well above 100th in the FIFA rankings 10 years ago, like 140, 150, whatever. The process they've undertaken in their domestic league was all grassroots, from the bottom up change. And I hope the U.S. takes a page out of their notebook because we need a change in our federation too. This is a huge success story. A huge success story. It's very similar to what Germany did after Euro 2004, when Germany went through that sort of funk from the late 90s, early 2000s, and became the most successful national team in Europe and the current world champions. Iceland, while making some of their own different changes from that German system, they still laid a very efficient blueprint, a blueprint for a change, and it has brought them to where they are now. And just taking into account the population of the country, its resources, its investment into the sport, its resources, its finances, whatever you want to call it, and the amount of change they have undertaken to have gotten them to this point. The only word I can think for that is crazy. It's nuts. And right now, I'd say they're just under the best teams in Europe. Second tier. They won their group. They're one of the 9 group winners. They've qualified directly for the World Cup in a very difficult group. And I look at the list of teams that have qualified. 23 countries have qualified for the World Cup already. I think Iceland's better than most of them. Well, let's see. Brazil, Germany, Spain, France, but even France is starting to look a little bit suspect lately. Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia. After all those teams I just named, I take Iceland more seriously than anyone else. I take them more seriously than Poland, because I think once you take Lewandowski away from Poland, they're in a lot of trouble. And I look at Belgium, more talented than Iceland, not as much of an exciting team to look at as Iceland, in my opinion. Most of the World Cup spots have already been filled. They've already been filled. I don't see why Iceland can't get to the quarterfinals the same way they did in Euro 2016. The Euro 2016, some people thought it was a fluke. They got lucky. I never believed that for a second. And them clinching qualification now for their first ever World Cup, considering where they were back in 2006, that's nuts. It is incredible. I think they're a dark horse. Yeah, yeah. You heard it here. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. I think this team is a dark horse to go very far in the World Cup next summer. You know, we've had surprise semifinalists before. Yes, I'm saying semifinals. It's not a prediction. It's not a prediction. But you look at the recent history of World Cups: Bulgaria, Croatia, South Korea, Turkey. I think Iceland is just as good as those teams were. I remember some of those previous surprise semifinalists. Why can't Iceland do it? They can get to the quarterfinals just on their current form alone. Let's say they a little bit of luck goes their way in addition to that, they can get to the semifinals. I'm not joking. Not joking. And that is stunning. It's really, really stunning. That is incredible. It's good not just for them, it's good for the sport.